My stupid camera stopped recording, so here's part 2 of the choices we make. Once she'd prepared her box with supplies, she walked over to the quiet room. Its wooden door was closed, and a peek through the oval window on it revealed a man sitting inside, his face buried in his hands. Her heart shrank and she moved away, putting the box down and quietly waiting. Goldheart was inside. He had only been an operator for a few weeks now. He used the quiet room a whole lot. Pinkie waited and waited. Dr. Resolve had told her to try and avoid coming into the room when someone was inside. It could jolt them away from their thoughts, and even if she felt they needed help, the doctor assured her they would seek it out if that was the case. So while she waited, she did another quick round, ate a cupcake, heatedly discussed the idea of getting a therapy kitten for the center with Honeydew, wrote a list of 10 kitten names, left 3 cupcakes on Goldheart's desk, and finally, once Gold had gone back to work, went into the quiet room to restock the snacks and mini fridge. There was a plastic table at the end of the room. She threw away all the garbage, and once she'd restocked the mini fridge, got to work with the snacks. Or rather, got to work until the door opened, and an older man walked in, a pack of cigarettes in his hand. "Oh, Fireside," she exclaimed. "I won't be long." Fireside shrugged. "Take your time." Pinkie watched as he made his way across the room, and so did she place her hands on her hips and pout when he opened the window and took his cigarette out. "Fireside, you're not supposed to smoke in here," she exclaimed. Fireside stared at her for a moment before pulling up a chair, placing it next to the window, sitting down, and then lighting up his cigarette. Pinkie huffed, but she knew she had to pick her battles. "Well, fine." Fireside had been working at the center the longest. He and Dr. Resolve had known each other from their last job at the local emergency dispatch service center, which is why the doctor probably let him get away with little things. "Did you have a tough call?" Pinkie asked, trying to break the ice. "You could say that," he replied, taking a puff and blowing the smoke out the window. "How old are you, Pinkie?" he asked, distracting her from the very important task of making sure the M&Ms weren't confused with the Skittles. "Are you still in high school?" "Yep, but I'm graduating next year," she replied, "and I'll be 18 soon." "Why'd you ask?" She grinned. "Going to get me a birthday present?" "Huh?" "Don't get excited, pal," he replied, raising an eyebrow. He then smiled. "Well, maybe a little excited, but you didn't hear it from me." Pinkie giggled, gesturing a zipping motion on her mouth. "Still don't know why you're here, though," he said. 17-year-olds don't usually want to spend their Friday afternoons at a place like this. Don't you have parties to go to with your friends? "Oh no, my friends always organize parties on Saturday, so I can come," she quickly explained, putting away her leftover supplies. "They know I can't do anything on Fridays. They're okay with it. Except for my friend Dashie. She always wants to spend time with me." He grunted. "Doesn't say much about her if she holds your volunteering here against you." Horror struck Pinkie like a slap to the face. "No, it doesn't. She's still supportive," she quickly said, eager to defend her friend's reputation. "She and the others don't know what I volunteer for. I only tell them I work for a center." He was surprised by this. "Really? You haven't told them?" he asked, and so did she feel a knot form in her throat when he stubbed the cigarette out against the frame of the window. "Why not?" And to this, Pinkie didn't quite know the answer. I guess 'cause I don't want to make them super sad," she ventured, even though she knew that wasn't entirely the reason. "I see." He reached over with his foot and pulled a chair over by the leg. He nodded to it. "You got time?" Though it was phrased as a question, something told her it wasn't, so she carefully walked over and sat down. He observed her for a moment before prompting. "So, you haven't told them because you don't want to make them sad?" Pinkie swallowed. "Well, nobody really wants to talk about stuff like that." "And just because nobody wants to talk about it means nobody should?" he asked, and she felt very like when she was being questioned by Vice Principal Luna after the super sticky pie incident. No, it's super important to talk about, she quickly said, because it was true. He stayed silent for a moment and leaned back in his chair. Do you know what it means to be casually suicidal? Suicide isn't casual, she exclaimed at once, indignant on behalf of the many people who'd tried everything else before that. Suicide was always the last option a friend felt they had. Calm down, Pinkie. I know it isn't, and I don't mean it that way, Fireside said, hushing her down with a gesture. He nodded to her jeans pocket. You have your cell phone? Go on Twitter and look up tweets in your high school's area. Though she was confused, Pinkie obeyed, taking out her cell phone and doing as instructed. When the search feed came up, he extended her his hand. May I? I promise I won't look at anything else. Sure, she exclaimed, handing the phone over to him and watching as she scrolled down. No, 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 he murmured as he scrolled, until finally he cleared his throat. Fourth tweet, quote, at that point in the semester where I don't look both ways when jaywalking, hashtag KMS. That hashtag's popular too, isn't it? He stopped, looked at her, looked back down at the phone and kept scrolling. No, no, here. Seventh tweet. Good morning, Twitter. The sun is shining and I want to die. No, no, here. 10th tweet. And with a screenshot. He turned the phone to Pinkie, and she saw what looked like a desolate cartoon character lying in bed. Me deciding if I should wake up for school or stay in bed until I die. Pinkie stayed silent when he stopped. He locked the phone, handed it back to her, and asked, What do you think about that? Well, that's not really nice things to say, but they don't mean it, she offered, fidgeting in her seat. She unlocked her phone and looked at the feed. Suicide isn't something you joke about. If you're serious about it, no one even should joke about it. But, this tweet is from Eventide, and I know her. She's just joking. Is she? He asked. How are you so sure? Pinkie faltered. I'm not. He hummed. What's this saying? Many a true words are often spoken in jest. It's easy to say things like that as a joke, because if people don't take it seriously or are uncomfortable, well, hey, it's just a joke. Pinkie stood up almost immediately, balling her fists. I'd never not take it seriously. But your friends won't know that if you don't show them you do take it seriously, he replied. Pinkie's hands loosened. Oh. You know why we get so many calls? He asked. Pinkie sat down on her chair, kicking at the floor like a chastised child. 'Cause they don't think anyone else will take them seriously? Among many other reasons, he said. Not wanting to burden your loved ones, or not wanting them to worry, or feeling like you're not worth worrying over because it's not serious. She deflated a bit. Sorry. Don't be sorry. You're learning. We all are, he said. You just have to start talking about it. Show people it's something serious, even if they don't think it at first. Remember what Quiet says? Pinkie nodded. Positive thinking, she exclaimed, jumping up to a standing position. She lifted her hand and saluted him. Yes, sir. He laughed. Don't call me sir. It makes me feel old. He got up and threw the remainder of his cigarette into a nearby trash bin. Now, let's get back to work before Dr. Resolve comes and nags me. He took a few steps towards the door and added, Oh, and bring me one of your water bottles, will you please? Figure I might as well, since you won't tell the good doctor about my smoking, right? Pinkie giggled. What smoking? Nighttime had long settled in the sky by the time Pinkie made it back to Sugar Cube Corner. As she approached, she noticed the lights still lit inside the shop and wondered if Mrs. Cake had stayed up waiting for her. However, when she stepped into the shop, bicycle in tow, she was surprised to find a familiar rainbow-haired teenager sitting on a chair and idly scrolling through her phone. Dashie? She asked, alerting her friend to her present. What are you doing here? Oh, hey, Rainbow said, putting her phone away. Mrs. C said I could crash here until you get back. Aw, you were waiting for me? Pinkie asked, grinning widely. She rested the bike against a wall and joined her friend, sitting on the opposite side of the table. I thought you were going to spend the day with the girls. I did, Rainbow said, grabbing a nearby salt shaker and playing with it. But, she twirled the object in her hand. You... Pinkie prompted, watching as her friend rather noticeably avoided eye contact. Rainbow put the salt shaker down on the table. I felt bad earlier for, dissing your volunteer stuff. I know it's important to you and stuff. I guess I miss you more because we don't share classes anymore. Aww. Pinkie's heart swelled and she extended her hand to take Rainbow's. I really like spending time with you too. Rainbow grinned. Course you do. Who doesn't? People line up to hang out with me, you know? She took the salt shaker again and played with the cap. So yeah, sorry about not taking your volunteering thing seriously. Seriously. Talk about it. I volunteer at the local suicide helpline center, she said simply, the words leaving her mouth unbidden. The reaction was immediate. You what? Rainbow asked, dropping the salt shaker on the table and looking at her friend as though she were ill. Why? Are you okay? She placed her hands on the table. Why would you even... Pinkie, is there something you haven't told me? No. I'm fine, she quickly said, raising her hands defensively. Pinkie, promise. I want to help. But I'm okay, really. Rainbow relaxed slightly. Oh, well, she leaned back. Wow, the suicide helpline? That's like... She drifted off, her eyes widening, her face turning white. Oh. She crossed her arms on the table and buried her face in them, groaning loudly. What's wrong? Pinkie asked, confused. I told you it wouldn't kill them to let you skip a day. That's what's wrong, Rainbow muttered, groaning again. Now I feel even worse than before. She lifted her head and glared at her friend. You could have said something, Pinks. I know, Pinkie said, and I did now, so you can stop feeling bad, 'cause you didn't know. And how would you have known when I didn't tell you? Yeah, I guess, Rainbow replied, sitting up straight and rubbing the back of her head. Man, though. Suicide hotlines? That's heavy. She licked her lips and frowned. Is it like... What's it like? The calls, I mean. Oh, I don't take calls, Pinkie clarified. I don't think I can do that yet. But I help around the center and make sure everyone's comfortable. Rainbow crossed her arms. Yeah, that must be hard for them. It's even harder for the ones calling, Pinkie replied. And lots of them call us because they feel like they have no one else to talk about it with. So I want to help. People shouldn't be afraid to talk about what they feel. Rainbow didn't reply, lost in thought. And so did Pinkie feel a tug at her heart. Fireside's words whispered in her mind, and she put a hand on Rainbow Dash's arms. You'd totally tell me if you felt sad, right, Dashy? Rainbow snorted. I'm never sad. Really? Rainbow nodded. Yeah, really. She then faltered. Well, I mean... A light blush flashed down her cheeks, and she looked away. I mean, maybe. The other day I was like, maybe. Wondered if I wasn't good enough at, stuff. Pinkie blinked. Not good enough at stuff? Immediately she jumped up, filled with righteous anger. What? You're totally the best at stuff. Who made you feel like you aren't? I'll fight them. Whoa. Calm down, Rainbow exclaimed, smiling at her friend. No one said anything, you dork. I was the one thinking about it. You? Pinkie exclaimed. She balled her fists and put them up. I'll fight you. Rainbow snorted. Fight me? She jumped up and balled her fists. Bring it. Of course, not even 5 seconds passed before both friends began to laugh and fell back down into their chairs. Silly Rainbow, Pinkie said, rolling her eyes. You're totally the best at stuff. You're even better than me at stuff. Hey, Rainbow said, raising an eyebrow. I'm not better than you. I'm different." "Rainbow!" Pinkie exclaimed. "You actually remembered." Rainbow gasped. "Oh my gosh! It's like I actually care about what you tell me." She giggled and stuck out her tongue. "Listen, I know I think I'm the awesomest, but you gotta give me more credit here, dork." She cleared her throat and looked around. "Anyway, we better ditch this joint before Mrs. C kicks us out. Do you want to hang out more?" Pinkie nodded. "Yep. Where'd you want to go?" Rainbow hummed. "Well, there's that sketchy taco joint near my house that, never closes. You can stay over at my place if you want." Pinkie nodded. "Ooh, tacos sound really good. And super cheap, too," Rainbow added. They got up and cleaned up after themselves. After Pinkie made sure to leave the bicycle in its proper place, she followed Rainbow outside and locked the shop. "Hey, Pinkie?" Pinkie turned around and found Rainbow rubbing the back of her neck again. "Mm-hmm," she asked. "What's up?" Rainbow seemed to hesitate for a moment. "You don't think it's dumb that I feel like I'm not good enough at stuff?" Pinkie shook her head. "Nope. I think it's super duper important." She extended her hand and smiled. "Want to talk about it?" Rainbow stared at her hand for a moment before smiling earnestly. "Yeah," she replied, interlacing her fingers with Pinkie and walking off side by side. "I'd really like that." Finn. Author's note. Hands, put your empty hands in mine. And scars, show me all the scars you hide. And hey, if your wings are broken, please take mine so you can open too, 'cause I'm going to stand by you. A story dedicated to whoever needs support. Nothing more, nothing less. I tried my best to represent the places and lessons in this story as accurately and faithfully as I could. I did extensive research on the subject of suicide and suicide helplines, which included reading and listening to interviews with operators, reading several professional psychology websites, listening to several TED Talks, and scaring the hell out of a dear friend of mine when I contextless asked him if he could guide me through the process of calling a suicide hotline. Please seek out help if you're ever in a bad place. Haildrake posted a few places in the comments, which I've copy-pasted below. SuicidePreventionLifeline.org, 1-800-273-8255. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a multilingual, U.S.-based program that helps anybody and everybody, including getting you in touch with local help centers. Additionally, they provide help for deaf sufferers. www.suicide.org. Suicide.org is a great, unofficial, I guess is the best word for it, resource for help. It's a non-profit originally organized by just one guy to aggregate many different kinds of help. They have the number for just about every type of mental help you can imagine, including text lines, in case you don't feel like verbally speaking to someone about your problems. That was The Choices We Make by Monochromatic. I'm Super Trampoline. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.